Hi BookTube, I'm here with my June TBR. I can't believe it's June. We're going to be June quite soon. Yeah, I have a few projects that I'm working on in June. A new approach to my TBR. So let's get into it. I'll already have posted my video about around the world challenge that I'm doing, where I want to read one book from every country in the world, or try to read one book from every country in the world. It's a lot harder than you think it is. And so I have a list. I did some random numbers, and I like to do this ahead of time. I would like to do it on camera, but I have to do it like far ahead of time because I have to sometimes order these books, and sometimes it takes like a month for them to come if I can't find them on ebook. So, and sometimes they're really hard to find. You know, you can't get Amazon next day delivery on some of these things. I'm doing 4 to 5 countries a month in June because I'm really excited about it. I chose 5 books. And I'll just tell you about those books right now, why don't I? So the first country I got was Serbia, and I'm so excited to read Dictionary of Khazars by Milorad Pavic. I heard about this book a long time ago, and it's been on my TBR for a really long time, and I finally am gonna get to it. I have no excuses and every reason to read it now. It's called a lexicon novel. It's like a dictionary, but it's got a plot, and it's about the mass conversion of the Khazars, which were a semi-nomadic Turkish tribe way back when, and their conversion to Judaism. The next country I got was Egypt, and this was another book that's been on my TBR for a while. And that is Women at Point Zero by Nawal el-Sayadi, and that is about a woman who is in prison and going to be executed for murdering a pimp on the streets of Cairo. And yeah, it talks about her life as a childhood and how she ended up being a prostitute and ended up murdering someone and in prison for it. So that seems really interesting. Next I got Laos, and as I said in my video, it's not always easy to find authors from that country that have been translated in English and then whose books are available to get. You know, I went through all sorts of resources. So this one is actually by an Englishman living in Thailand, but it takes place in historical Laos, and it's called The Coroner's Lunch. And I believe it's 1970s Laos, and our coroner is actually in his 70s, so we have like an elderly character here, which is really cool, and it's a mystery story, but we get the perspective of the coroner. And I know that's quite a popular trope, but I haven't read it before. I've only ever seen Bones, so it'll be really cool to get that perspective. And the next country was Somalia, and I decided to go with The Orchard of Lost Souls by Nadifa Mohamed. And this is about the revolution, war, whatever you want to call it, going on in Somalia from the perspective of 3 women in various different positions in society. So that sounds really neat. And lastly is Malaysia, The Garden of Evening Mist by Twan Ng. And I actually saw a lot of people doing this for the Asian Readathon. Yeah, and it's about a man who is studying law in England, and then he decides to move back to Malaya, as it was called then, in the 1940s, I believe. Yeah, 1949, because he's trying Japanese war criminals. So yeah, so that sounds really cool. Okay, so those are my 5 books for that, and then my next goal for June is, I'm calling it Finish It, and those are books that I've started and haven't finished this year so far, and there's only 2, surprisingly, and that is Jerusalem by Alan Moore. I started that in January, and then I hit the Lucia Joyce chapter, and it took me like 5 to 7 minutes to read a page, and I stopped because it was a lot of effort, and I felt like I couldn't devote the attention that it required. So I've done some research. I'm gonna skip over that chapter, continue reading it, and then go back and work through that chapter. So yeah, it's not essential to understanding the rest of the plot. It was just kind of something fun that Alan Moore decided to put in his book. And the next thing is I've decided to do prompts. And I've been watching a lot of TBRs to try and discover new booktubers, and a lot of people are playing games, and I don't have the attention and the time to make a game, but I decided to do a TBR prompt jar, and I have this cute little robot thing that I got in a gift, and I pop off its head and it's got some prompts in there. I believe there's like 88 altogether because I just got super excited coming up with prompts. But because I already have 7 books on my TBR, and I generally put 10 books on the TBR, and I don't have any... Well, I think the Coroner's Lunch, I think, is an audiobook. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to pick only 3 prompts here. I'm going to pick them all now, and then I'll find the books. I won't show you me trying to find the books because who knows how long it will take me. Yeah, so let's dive into it. We're just going to go like that and pick out a prompt. And this one is, oh, very simple, a hardcover book. That's easy. Next one will be, Maggie, you want to pick a book? Yeah? No? Want to pick a book? This one? Is that one Reiki approved? Yeah? Okay. And that one is, oh, features a relationship. I don't know where I was getting these prompts from. Reggie, you want another prompt? Where are those? Where are those? Oof! Come on! No, okay. Oh, and he's done. So the next one, oh, there's 2 here. There's 3 actually. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Set in non-English speaking country that's not fantasy. So there we go. I'm gonna go find those books and I'll tell you what they were. So I have my books for the prompts. So my first prompt, as I said, was hardcover, and I noticed there were no non-fictions on my reading list, and that's something I'd like to do, so I picked up this book that's been on my radar since I was in 12th grade, and I graduated in 2004. It's because I read an article that kind of dealt with this issue, and when I found this book, I don't know when, because I don't keep track of those things, I was really excited. And I've been thinking about it on my wrapped shelves, thinking like, this is a book I really want to get to, and finally I'm going to get to it. This is The Alphabet versus the Goddess, The Conflict Between Word and Image by Leonard Schlan. And I remember from the article it was talking about how the worship of female goddesses was linked to languages depicted in images. Think of like hieroglyphs and stuff like that. And then as we transitioned to a male god, or the male portrayal of God, language became different from images. I'm sure it's about a whole much more than that. It tracks the correlation between the rise and fall of literacy and the changing status of women in society, mythology, and religion throughout European history and in other cultures as well. It contrasts the oral right-brain teachings of Socrates, Christ, and the Buddha with the hierarchical and sexist forms that evolved when their spoken words were committed to writing. Yeah, so I'm very excited to finally get to this. For a book that features a relationship, I think I chose this because I don't read romance and I wanted to challenge myself, but I had a really bad time with Bridgerton. So I chose a different kind of relationship, and I chose Let Me In by John Ajvid Lindquist. I'm sorry, I totally did not pronounce that correctly, and I didn't look it up. And this is a terrifying yet moving tale of 2 lonely adolescents who stand together against the world. So there's the relationship. It begins with the horrific discovery of the body of a teenage boy emptied of blood. Our 12-year-old hero is personally hoping that revenge has come at long last. Revenge for all the bad things that the bullies at schools do to him day after day. And he meets a girl. So there's that one. And lastly, set in a non-English speaking country that's not fantasy. I went with this, Occupation Diaries by Raja Shahade. And this is very fitting for our current times because this is talking about the Israeli occupation of Palestine. And this is like a diary. So award-winning author Raja Shahade has kept a diary since the 1967 Israeli invasion. Occupation Diaries chronicles the last 2 eventful years before the Palestinian bid for UN statehood in September 2011. So yeah, oh, there's pictures, cool. I'm always excited when there's pictures. Yeah. So I think this will be a very important read. I've been very interested in the Palestinian issue since I first heard about it, and I'm hoping this will give me some more information about, from a personal perspective of the issues going on there. Hi BookTube! A completely different angle, and we've got a different kitty cat with me in this video. She's just not happy because I just disturbed her to sit down here and film this again because I totally forgot about some of the other goals I have for reading, even after making that yearly goal check-in video thing and doing some new goals there. So I decided to refilm this portion. Yeah, while petting my beautiful, beautiful baby girl. Yes. This is Eddie. Eddie Betty. Baby Ed. She's Monster Junior. Anyways, if you want more pictures of my cats, follow me on Instagram. I know that sounds weird to say, but you know, if you do. I know I like looking at pictures of people's cats. So, my other goals. I want to read 1 book on religion a month, and I decided to go with The Origin of Satan by Elaine Pagels, and that is about where our modern notion of Satan, the devil, Lucifer, whatever you want to call it, came from, because it's not all just from the Bible, right? So I added that on there. The graphic novel and my Fables project. So I'll be reading Fables Volume 17 by Bill Willingham and others, and Fables, well, we're at Volume 17, so a lot is going on at this point. But the beginning of Fables starts with, well, we get introduced to characters from fables, folklores, and fairy tales who have been kicked out of their universe and are now in the mundane universe and dealing with all that. Yeah, my pick for an LGBTQ plus author is going to be The Magic Fish by Trung Lee Nguyen. And that is also a graphic novel, so that's pretty cool. And that's about a young Vietnamese boy who wants to come out to his parents, but he doesn't have the words in Vietnamese to do that, so he's trying to tell them through different folktales. At least that's what I've understood from other people talking about it. Then I want to read I'm reading off a list. I'll explain this in a second. And then for my Indigenous book, I decided to go for a book by an Australian Indigenous person. And this will be The Old Lie by Claire G Coleman. Also because I wanted science fiction in there as well, and I didn't have any science fiction. This seems like science fiction, but based a lot on historical fiction as well. Like, takes a lot from history to talk about this other universe type thing. And it's by Claire G Coleman. I don't know if I said that. And the Goodreads description is very kind of vague in that there's a war and there's the same old lie being told about the war. So yeah, that sounds quite interesting. I'll be listening to that on audiobook actually. For my Latinx author, I decided to pick Infinity in the Palm of Her Hand by Gioconda Belli. She's Nicaraguan. In May I read The Jaguar Smile by Simon Rushdie, and he kept mentioning Gioconda Belli. So I already had this book bought, so I thought I'll pick that one up. And that is a retelling of the story of Genesis, so I guess I have another religious kind of text on there. And the other one's another thing to do with religion. It's the theme for June, apparently. That will be Angels, my reread. And that will be my reread, and that is Angels Watching Over Me by Lurlene McDaniel. And I read this when I was like 11 or 12, so it's been a long time since I last read this. And it's about a teenager who gets left alone while her mom goes on her honeymoon with her new stepfather. And she ends up going to the hospital for a broken finger, but things seem to be a lot more complicated, so she's in the hospital dealing with, you know, potential life-threatening disease, and her mother's off on her honeymoon refusing to come home and see her. Yeah, so there's that story. And the reason I realized I was low on my goals was because I made this new handy dandy checklist. And so I just designed it on Canva. Put my goals in little boxes, and it's just a sheet of paper, and you stick it in a sleeve. Oh, let's get it lined up again here. Like the protective sleeve, and then this is just dry erase marker, so you can like check things off and erase it once the new month comes, or if you want to change things. So yeah, that's my June TBR. Let me know what you'll be reading in June, and thank you for watching.